So I read this book called The Seven Pillars of Self-Esteem. In it, he talked about stop identifying with your feelings. So like if you're feeling anxious, you don't say like I have social anxiety. Like because you don't. Like you don't have social anxiety. You are not a feeling. You may be experiencing social anxiety, but you do not identify with it. Once you like do that, you create this disconnect with the feeling and your identity. And when there's that space, you have more clarity. You're like, oh, that's just a feeling. And it loses power over you. I'm experiencing social anxiety, but that does not mean I have social anxiety. And then you start challenging the belief. You're like, let's look back at all the times where I showed I was confident. So I asked for that girl's number the other week. I got that. Okay. I mean, would a socially anxious person do that? No. And then you just like kind of you flip the script on it, and over time you do that enough times and you start conditioning yourself like, okay, I'm confident and all that stuff.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Behind the Thread. My name is Callum. On today's episode, we have Dakota Robertson. Dakota, welcome to the show, man.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Hello, thank you for having me.
I've never had someone do that on the intro. You're one of one already.
I've never done it before. There we go. We're all just new here.
All right, cool. So just to kick off, can you kind of give everyone like 1 minute like elevator pitch? Just introduce them to who you are, what you do, all that good stuff.
Yes. So my name is Dakota Robertson. I was previously an electrician, delivery driver, food server, security guard, medic, all that stuff. Very dissatisfied with where I was going with life, and I always knew I had more potential. Um, Took a few years of figuring that out, self-help books, all that stuff, trying Amazon drop shipping, blogging, websites, all that stuff. Stumbled across Twitter because I was in crypto, and kind of got indoctrinated in the online business scene. Wound up studying copywriting, taught what I knew on Twitter, and grew a following with that. Eventually transitioned to ghostwriting, and that is what I do right now. I build big brands and grow the shit out of them on Twitter. And I also do consulting for people on how to grow their own brands. And that is my quick elevator pitch of who I am.
That was very nice. That was very concise as well. Nice.
Very surprised I got it that concise.
It
Yes.
was like you'd rehearsed it. I was like, okay, fair enough.
Apparently, yeah. Damn.
Okay, sick. So I think we'll get into like your Twitter stuff because obviously you've blown up on Twitter. I know you have like a company that you also help other people blow up their followings as well. So we'll get into that later in the interview. But I really want to start with kind of where you started with your intro, which was
Mhm.
like before you started building businesses, before you started writing, kind of taking it back to the beginning. What were some of those things that you were initially working on that you mentioned, and like how did you even get into that?
Yeah, so I remember when I was 18, I had a friend show me the book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know it's like that for a lot of people. But reading that book really changed my mindset on things because I realized, oh, you don't have to get a job. You can build assets that make you money while you sleep. And it kind of really got like shifted my thinking in you don't have to go to the traditional path. That was something my mom also told me growing up is like, don't work for somebody else, be like, work for yourself, create your own business. But it didn't really like click until I read that book and realized, oh shit, this is pretty cool. This is possible. So at the age 18, that's when my mind kind of expanded to that. And then I was more open to looking for areas where I could make money on my own. So it started, damn, I've been all over the place, but I guess the first iteration was like my mom. She started like a food stand on the side of the road, and I would help her with that. So it was like kind of that kind of got my gears working towards like the more entrepreneurial spirit, and she scaled that to more later on. But like I want to say blogging was like the first attempt at making money online, but it wasn't even like trying to make money. It was like, okay, this might lead to making money later on. That lasted about 2 weeks. Like, it's just like writing, and then you're like, no one's reading this shit. Like, I give up. Screw it. It's just horrible mindset to have. Transition to trying to drop shipping, trying to do that with my friend. So we just like thought of different products. He was doing sex dolls at the time, which is actually doing really well. We didn't do that together. We went to Amazon and tried skipping ropes. Um, that we didn't even put any effort in. Like we just did it to like kind of see. Then we got bored and like, oh, screw it, whatever. So again, quit too early. And then web design. I landed a client or two with that. But at the time, I was doing writing and with Twitter, and I was like, I like kind of like this writing stuff a bit more. It's like it's a bit more scalable. So I did copy. Switched to copywriting. Wrote a landing page for somebody for like dirt cheap. That sucked because I was just like stressing about, okay, what do I write? How do I do all this and that? And um, I thought like, well, I'm growing my Twitter right now, and it intersects with copywriting a lot. And I was thinking like, okay, why am I doing copywriting when the competition is like crazy high, when I can go into a niche of copywriting where the competition's like this, and I have so much more social proof, and it's just much more lucrative. So I chose to be a big fish in a small pond, and I went with that. And yeah, so I did well with that and kept iterating on that. Now I'm doing it kind of at scale, and yeah, that's kind of my journey.
Okay, interesting. I'm interested what you said about. So obviously you started at 18. You were reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I think a lot of
Yeah,
people have read, right?
yeah,
Um, was it when you were reading that and you were inspired? Was the motivation to be rich, or was it like to find your passion? Like what even made you think like, oh, I want to start my own business and all these things?
yeah. So the main, like my biggest value is freedom, and that encapsulates a lot of things. So like freedom of my time, freedom of choice, freedom to do go wherever, and money or wealth is a tool for me to obtain that. So I wasn't doing it to like get status and all that stuff. Like I'm sure maybe subconsciously, yes. But for me, I just hate being told what to do. And I was told what to do a lot as a kid. And I just really don't like it unless it's from somebody I respect. And man, I would work like 12-hour days as an electrician to make money. And I was just like absolutely miserable. Like, what's the point of all this? And I'm glad I got that perspective. I'm glad I went through that because it made me appreciate having freedom and working for myself. But yeah, like obtaining money was like at the core is like freedom. Like if you can make $3,000 to $5,000 a month, even less, like you can buy your freedom, and it's not that hard to do. Like it's honestly, like if you study marketing, sales, whatever, like it's very obtainable. And if you apply the principles and you're willing to look like a jackass in the beginning, um, but yeah, it took a while to get there to like kind of realize how simple it is. Like you got to do the complex shit and like screw up a bunch of times to realize, oh, it's like literally this simple. Just do this, and do that. Um, but yeah, the main driver is freedom.
I think you know what's interesting with like the pandemic and stuff. I think it kind of made more people go after like what they truly want. Like there are a lot of people that were in jobs that were like, I don't even like this shit. Like I'm just gonna go do some other. I'm gonna work for myself, or I'm gonna stay at home with like my kids more, or whatever. Right.
Yeah,
So I think that that topic of like freedom or just doing what you want to do has become like more pertinent. Like more people, it's on more people's minds.
yeah,
I'm interested. Like your end goal was freedom. You were like an electrician, right, at the time. Like
mhm.
how did you even think about getting to that space? Was it like very strategic, or was it like, because it sounds like you were kind of hopping around like trying different things. Was that like a strategic move, or you were like, explain that?
Yeah. So I had this like I just like have this lazy mindset. It's kind of funny. So I was an electrician, and it was good money, and I would work a lot, and that helped me a lot because I put a shit ton in crypto during that time. Um, so I leveraged like a lot of money that way. But I was like, how can I get paid to sit on my ass so I can study like business stuff or like try different stuff. By the way, I also did day trading. Would not suggest that. Did that for a little bit. But yeah, so like that was like the kind of mindset I had. I'm like, okay, so like how can I leverage my time and optimize that to the maximum amount? And at the time, I had different like ways of doing that. That's why I was bouncing around. So I did delivery driving for Domino's, but I would listen to podcasts and ebooks and stuff like that while I drove around, and that way I was still making money while I was doing it. I was also a security guard. I I would also sit on my ass and I would listen to podcasts. I would take courses, stuff like that, where I would like learn these skills, learn the foundational skills. Um, I would also tweet or whatever when I was a security guard too. So like I would create content. Medic. I was a medic. I took a 2 week course that apparently qualified me to save lives on the oil and gas industry. Completely crazy to me. But yeah, I would sit in a truck literally all day, 12 hours a day. I'd get paid pretty decent to just literally do whatever. And if shit popped off, I would have to go like save lives and stuff. But nothing major ever happened. And yeah, so like the main thing was like I leveraged my time to learn skills where I could leverage those skills to earn more money. So that was like it's like a lazy kind of thought pattern or like process, but it worked because it just because you think about it, like how much time do people spend at their jobs every day, and when you get home, you don't feel like grinding another 6 hours to work on your stuff. So why not get paid? Sure, maybe a little bit less at some jobs, but why not get paid to learn these skills and then later leverage those skills and get paid more?
So one thing that's interesting is, so I've been working maybe for like 3 years now, and being in the workplace, one of the things I've noticed, and I did this as well, is that I feel like most people work for the company, but the company doesn't work for them. So to your point, it's like they spend all their time like at their job, which in a way is good. Like they're dedicating themselves, they're trying to get ahead, they're doing all these things. But then maybe the economy goes through like a bad period or something. And now they're cut loose and they have nothing, and they've dedicated everything to this company, but it hasn't invested back into them.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like what you're saying is make the job work for you, which is like you had this goal, like make the like they're paying you a paycheck, like you're still doing the work, but also make sure at the same time you're getting something back, either through like learning. Like I know there's some companies they'll pay for like skills training or education for their employees and stuff. And to be honest, I think it's like a really important point, because it's easy to just sleepwalk and you end up working for a company for like months, years, and like you haven't actually developed, you have nothing that's your own.
Yeah.
um
It's crazy,
so yeah.
man. I would see people that were in their 60s, even 70s when I was working in the oil and gas industry as an electrician and a medic. They look like broken inside, man. Like they just look like shut off. Like, yep, this is my life. And it's that scares the shit out of me. Living a life of regret and just like doing the same shit. Like, man, that's crazy to me. It's scary. But like that's also why I like entrepreneurship is because you are the only bottleneck to your growth. Like if you're not making sales, that is on you. If you are not generating leads, that is on you. If you're not doing whatever, that is on you. And that's something I really like because it forces you to level up your own skill set, and it's just another form of self-improvement. Uh it's yeah, like your skills directly correlate with how much money you have in the bank. And if you're not getting money in the bank, well, that's a sign you need to level up your skills. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah, yeah. I think I have like a similar thing. I like that it's like it's on me. Like
Hmm.
it's like the extreme ownership. I think that's the word, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Which is
exactly. Yeah,
like you have all the responsibility. Okay,
yeah.
I want to talk about um I want to talk about one of your tweets, because so obviously you've been blowing up like over the last few months. You have a really engaged community on Twitter. I think you have like 85,000 followers.
Yes,
I
sir.
might be
Yes,
dated in
sir.
saying that. You're gonna have
No, no,
100,000
I think you're
soon.
right. I think 84 or
Okay.
85 or something. Yeah,
Okay, nice. You have a shit ton of followers, let's just say that.
yeah.
Um and it's growing all the time. And I think the tweet thread that you had where I initially found you was the one. I think it was like your biggest one, I believe, which is like um every man in his 20s should read this or something like that. It's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah. If you're in
the
if you're a
hook.
man in your
Yeah.
20s, read this. Yeah,
Yeah. And I
yeah,
remember reading that, and at the time I was like, no one really talks about that on Twitter. And it was so
yeah,
like it was so blunt and to the point. I was like, well, I'm a man in my 20s, so I have to read this. um
yeah.
yeah. But I wanted to go to one tweet, and I encourage everyone to read it because there's like a bunch of good stuff in there. But one tweet which was really interesting, and I'll read it out. It starts like this. So it goes: take risks, start a business, buy crypto, pursue your far fetched goals. If I didn't take risks, I wouldn't have made $431,000 by the age of 22 or become self employed at the age of 23. The upside is infinite, the downside is minimal. So I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, what do you think holds back people in their 20s from taking risks?
Yeah, so they're conditioned to fear risk. Like they're conditioned to see it as a negative or like fear failure because our whole lives we're like told no. Like, no, don't do that. Or no, you have to raise your hand to go to the bathroom or do this, do that. Go to college for something you don't even want. Like this is because I want you to do it. Like you have no say. It's just like shit like that. We're always pushed around, like do stuff, and it over time you just like kind of become a victim. Like you're just conditioned to like, oh, I don't know if I should do that. Like, what if I fail? Like, oh no, what if? And it's also like the environment we live in today where everything's sheltered and it's seen like it's a bad thing if something bad happens to you. But in reality, like I like relate it to going to the gym. Like you don't grow muscles unless there's a stimulus applied to you and breaks you down. And because you're broken down, you can build back stronger if you have the right nutrients. And like that can be extrapolated to other things like a support group of like a supportive group of friends, or if you have the right mindset, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I honestly think fucking up early in life and like experiencing challenges, I think that's huge. I think it's a like really big driver for growth because it doesn't apply to everybody, but like look at people that have stuff handed to them their entire lives. And I mean, man, like they're some of the most miserable people I know. Like they're trying to find meaning, but like they have everything. They just don't know where to find meaning. So I think there's a lot of meaning in the struggle. And yeah, I would encourage. That's why I like said that. Like you like take risks, man. Like we're so conditioned to say, what if it goes wrong? But you need to reframe it. Like, okay, what if it goes right? So like with crypto, for example, I'm a big proponent of leverage. So like leveraging your time, your money, your skills. So with crypto, the way I saw it, like it was going down, 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 down during the time of like 2018 to like 2020. And I saw like, okay, so either this thing can keep going down or it's down now and it has so much more room to climb higher. So I said, okay, what if these smart people are right? And it just keeps going, it goes higher in the long term. So sure, in the short term, I lost a shit ton of money, like 90%. But like in the long term, it went up thousands of percent. And that like 90%, like that was like minuscule to like the gains. So like that's the kind of the way I see it. And sure, if it goes to zero, like with anything in life, like business or investments, um, fuck it, you're in your 20s. Like you can rebuild. And if you're a smart person, I'm assuming if you watch this podcast, you're a smart person, um, you can figure out how to apply the lessons from that to something else. And man, you can like screw up like every day for 10 years straight in your 20s. I think Gary Vee talks about this, and you'd still be fine in your 30s and onward. Like you're a baby. That's what Gary Vee says.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I always resonated with that because it's like when you're like a teenager or you're 20, like for me, I'm 24, right? I think
Mhm.
about like 25. I'm like, I'm getting over the hill, man. Like I'm
Me
getting
too.
close to that. I'm like it's coming. But then
Yeah.
like most people work until what? They're like 65,
Hmm.
70. So you have so much time. And I think people don't think about it like that. They think they need certain things established up front almost. They need it established really quickly. And that's kind of it holds them back from taking risks. I guess the thing is, I'm interested to hear from you is like you mentioned the thing about crypto and being leveraged. Can you kind of can you kind of explain more your mindset on that? You said that you're like you care a lot about like leverage. Can you
Hmm.
talk more about that?
Yeah. So like leverage is, the way I see it, is something where you have an unfair advantage almost, or like something where you could optimize an ideal amount. So like time leverage, I don't know if that's actually a concept, but I refer to it as like time leverage, is what I did with my job. So I I got paid to sit on my ass, but I leveraged that time in something that could get me exponential gains for the time I spent on that. So say spend, I don't know, I could spend 5 hours learning a skill, and over the course of a year, maybe that skill can save me dozens of hours of time. So that'd be like leveraging my time in something that works well. Say with money, um, leveraging that is pretty simple. So like, say if I have $100,000 and I throw that in an investment, it makes me 10%. Okay, I gained $10,000 from that 100K. But same principle applied to $10,000. I only made $1,000. So it's like finding these places where you have an unfair advantage and just like leveraging that. So same with skills. Like that's all it is. It's like leverage. So with ghostwriting, I have knowledge, a network. That's pretty much it. Skills, I guess. I have knowledge and a network and skills that I use. I leverage those to charge a shit ton of money to people that don't have that. So it's like, again, like leveraging that. Um, Same with like the dating market. Like if you're good looking, you could leverage that, and you could be crappier in some areas, but like your leverage with like being good looking could get you away with a lot more stuff. It's just stuff like that. So I'm like a big proponent. If you have leverage in some area, I think you should exploit that and run with it, because everyone has like their own thing. So why not use yours? Like it's kind of like your obligation. Like you should, because by using your leverage, you can help more people because you get more resources, and you can use that to work on your purpose and help other people find their leverage.
You know what's interesting as I listen to you speak because I'm kind of like this as well, where like I'm just always looking for opportunities. And I think certain people, they're very good at like finding opportunities or just little niches that fit them very well. And I
Hmm.
think it kind of takes this combination of like self-awareness of knowing like what you're good at or like what you can uniquely provide, and then also what's happening in the world, and then just finding that little intersection. I'm interested,
Yeah.
were you always like that? Like you would just kind of, because I don't think a lot of people think about, oh, I'm at my job, like how do I fully utilize this time? Or I'm investing this amount, but how can I get even bigger payoff? Like have you always been like that? Was there like a book that you read, someone that inspired you? Like
Yeah.
what was it?
So early on in my, like, I used to be very socially anxious, and there's like absolutely like low self-respect for myself. Low, I didn't think of myself as like high value. I thought of myself as like kind of dumb in some areas. But like one thing I always had was self-awareness, like maybe too much.
Hmm.
And that was, I think that, I don't know if that's genetics or if that's learned. I've always been curious about that. Um, but I've always had like self awareness, so I'd notice things and I would like pay attention to people that looked like they knew what they were talking about. Um, but yeah, like I think I really understood the concept of leverage, or like I really understood the importance of it after listening to Naval. I think it was on Joe Rogan's podcast. So I probably listened to that when I was 18 or 19. that's when it really like cemented in my head like this idea of leverage. Um, and then combine that with me being kind of looking for the laziest route to do shit. I was like, oh, I like this idea. Um, but yeah, like Naval, he says it more profoundly. But yeah, I kind of like took what he said and like spun my own ways on it. Another way of looking at leverage is like your podcast. So this is something you build once, but you can sell twice, three times, four times, or whatever, because it's going to compound. It's like over the span of a year, you're going to produce how many podcasts? Well, that's like so many more opportunities to get people to your audience. And over time, that's going to build up. Just like the Joe Rogan podcast, like it started out with nothing, builds up the audience because this is live forever, and boom, that's leverage. So like that's another way of looking at it. But like, yeah, so I think I read a lot of self help books after Rich Dad Poor Dad because I got like really hooked on it. Probably too much, but yeah, I think it's just like surrounding yourself around the right people. You kind of condition yourself to like look for pathways to do what they did, or like you get new perspectives from like reading these books. And then you're like, oh, okay, like maybe I can apply this idea of weightlifting to Twitter or something like that, like where it's like totally weird ideas. So like I was also very creative as a kid. So I think it just like applies to like different areas. Like, I wonder how I could do this differently or stuff like that.
You know, something that's super interesting that you said, you kind of alluded to it, is once you start doing different things, you realize you can, like, the lessons are everywhere. Like, the lessons in life are everywhere. So, kind of what you were saying, right, with the gym, like, there's so many things in the gym that actually apply to like other areas of your life. So I remember, for instance, when I first started working out, I went like hard for like 6 months, like the weirdest diet, like really high protein, just trying to put on muscle. And then I remember I got kind of sick from doing that. And then 2 3 weeks, like just sick, not eating anything out of the gym, and like everything's gone. And it kind of taught me like you need like the consistency, right? Like it's like the long game.
Yeah.
And literally there's so many examples of that in life. Like you might learn something at work which is actually useful in like a whole different um arena in life. And I think if you have that mindset where you're just open, because that's the thing, I think when I listen to you, I'm like, oh, like he's like an open-minded, like he's learning from a bunch of different areas and applying it. um One thing I wanted to talk about, which you mentioned, is when you were younger, you didn't feel like you were high value, or you felt like you were kind of dumb. One of the things I find, which I've been kind of reading about more, is like in our mind, we all have our own sense of like identity, like who we are. And it's one of those things that it kind of, who we think we are kind of shows up in so many different ways. And it really influences our outcomes. I'm curious because I think it's so difficult to kind of change that identity, change that like core belief. How did you? Because I'm assuming you don't think that you're low value now. So how did you go about changing that?
Man, this is something I'm very passionate about. I did a video. I got to retweet that because um, I did a really good video I was passionate about on that. But yeah, so I grew up with like social anxiety because I was like a fat kid. Some shit at home too. Is like I just didn't like feel like enough, and I like when you're a fat kid and you're kind of shy. People like to point it out when you're a kid, like it's oh you're a shy kid or you're like that fat kid and shit like that, and you hear that enough times, and you just like condition yourself to like oh like maybe I am because you're getting this feedback, and then you hear it enough times and you're like oh I'm a fat kid or I'm this I'm worthless like what's my opinion worth, and you play that enough times and it's just like you identify with that. So I identified with that for many years, like probably like 11 years or like from the ages like 9 to like 22. um but yeah, so like it was something that like always bothered me, and at the age of like 13 I started going to the gym with my stepdad, and I started working working out, and I would like work out till I threw up at these like boot camp classes at the YMCA, and I fucking loved it. And because it's like I'm just like going hard, I'm I'm like, it's like I'm running away from this identity. And
Mm,
that's what it was for me. Like I'm like, fuck this. I'm like putting my emotions into working out. Um, but yeah, like over time I saw that I could, because I know, remember the first day, like I noticed like physical changes, like after a few months, I was like, holy shit, like this stuff works. Like going to the gym and exercising works. It's
mm,
crazy. And it was really impactful because you're just like, okay, like if I can do this in this area, I wonder what else I can apply this to.
mm,
So if I can apply this to my physical body, I wonder if I can apply this to my mind. So that also took that took a lot more work, is changing your beliefs around something. So long story short, like I slowly like worked my way towards the identity I wanted by just doing shit that made me uncomfortable. Like I didn't like go like, oh, I'm confident now. It's like, no, um, I started small talk with cashiers. I initiated like, oh, hey, how's your day going? And that scared the shit out of me, but I kept doing it. And then eventually I got comfortable doing that. And then I took it a step further. I would, what else? I would initiate, like I say, if I'm at a party, I would initiate saying hello to somebody and shake their hand. It's like, okay, that felt uncomfortable. Now it's like a lot easier. And then I would like go ask for like girls' numbers at a cafe and then at the gym and shit like that. That is still uncomfortable. I fucking get nervous around like
yeah.
cold approaching women. Damn. But it's good. It's a good sign. So it's like taking those small steps. Um, Also, a big thing is stop identifying with your feelings. So I read this book called The Seven Pillars of Self Esteem. Never finished it. I read like a good quarter of it though. I got what I needed. Um, and in it, he talked about, um, I believe it was in that, stop identifying with your feelings. So like, if you're feeling anxious, you don't say like I have social anxiety, like because you don't like you don't have social anxiety. You are not a feeling. You may be experiencing social anxiety, but you do not identify with it. So like once you like do that, you create this disconnect with the feeling and your identity. And when there's that space, you have more clarity. You're like, oh, that's just a feeling, and it loses power over you. So like, that was a big thing. It's like because of all those years, people telling me what I was, it's like fat kid or shy or whatever. That was conditioned in me, and it was like automatic. So I had to like consciously realize that that was in me, and I had to create that separation. So like the first thing you have to do is like realize your tendencies, your habits, and really like analyze them. That's where like self-awareness comes in. You can journal for that and bring out self-awareness, meditation, stuff like that. But like once you realize that, that's when you start like heading or challenging it, challenging these thoughts direct on. So like, say if I'm like, oh, I'm experiencing, I have social anxiety. It's like, okay, wait, no, like, okay, I'm experiencing social anxiety, but that does not mean I have social anxiety. And then you start challenging the belief. You're like, okay, like let's look back at all the times where I showed I was confident. So I asked for that girl's number the other week. I got that. Okay. I mean, would a socially anxious person do that? No.
Mm,
And then you just like kind of you flip the script on it. And over time, you do that enough times, and you start conditioning yourself like, okay, I'm confident, and all that stuff. Um, there's also something to be said about like looking at your achievements or shit like that, and then just like showing appreciation for that as well. Looking at the logical side of things. So if you're emotional about something, look at it logically, kind of like switch off your brain. Like, okay, if I was like, what are the reasons of me thinking this, and why might they not be true? Um, so that was like a big thing. Like, I'm not saying it's easy. Absolutely not. It's very uncomfortable. It takes a lot of work. It took me years of work, but like just reframing is a big thing. So like stop seeing it as discomfort, just see it as a means to grow. Like might be uncomfortable to go again with the gym, might be uncomfortable to lift weights, but over time you get stronger, and then like it's not like the weights get lighter, you just get stronger, if you want a cliche. But yeah, that's the way I would look at it. And yeah, yeah,
you know,
that's my
as,
rant.
as I no, it's a great rant.
Thank you.
As I listen to you, one of the things that I think about is like the power of momentum.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to sound like I'm going on a tangent, but I'm going to bring it back, which is
Yeah.
so I watch like a lot of NBA, like basketball, and there's this phrase that the commentators always use. They're like, basketball is a game of runs. So you'll see one team will go on like a 15-0 run and they're hitting everything. And then maybe the coach will call a timeout and the opposing team will then go on like a 10-0 run, 12-0 run. And you're like, how can that happen, right? But it's the power of momentum. And I think a lot of the times, and I think what you said was a really good point, which is like, I think sometimes it's so in your head that you're this person, like you're unable to detach from it. And when you just start taking like those small steps, just slowly pushing the the comfort zone, it's like that momentum like builds and builds. And it even goes back to what you were saying before, right? About like compounding, which is like, why would going like maybe going to the gym is now making you more confident in your workplace or in your relationships, and there's all these other benefits because now you're building momentum. You're on like the upward, you have that upward trajectory. And I think sometimes the problem is, and I've done this as well, is like the gap between where you want to go to and where you are just seems so large that like you don't see a way that you could ever get there. And so you just, I think
Yeah.
people get like overwhelmed, kind of like they just stand still because they're like, I could never do that, like they're demoralized.
Yeah, it's
um
like with weight loss, man. Like you got to set these, sure, have that big goal, but like set these milestones in between. Like that's exactly like how you build habits because you get that like dopamine from these small rewards. So you got to like find these ways to along the way. Like, oh, I want to make $1 million. Like, okay, well, start with $1,000 or start with $10. Like making that online, then like push your way up. That's a no. Yeah, you articulated that perfectly.
yeah, nice. Okay, so so obviously you're working full time in like a bunch of different things. I'm interested in
Mhm.
like the transition. Like, when did you um start working for yourself? Like, how did you even do that? Because I think a lot of people say like, oh, I just started working for myself, whatever. But there's also the
Yeah.
reality of like, how do you live? Like, you still need money. So I'm like, I'm kind
Yeah.
of interested in like, how did you make that transition happen?
Yeah. So in September of 2020, I stumbled across Money Twitter, it's called, with all the business people. During the time, I was going to college for my second year. I was going to be a high school English and psychology teacher. But I was on Twitter and I was learning more on Twitter than I was in these fucking classrooms. It was just a joke, college, for my subject. And I was like, okay, I can always go back to college, but like I'm not going to always have the opportunity in my early 20s to pursue business. So I was like, screw it, I'm dropping out. So I finished my first semester my second year, but after that I chose not to renew. Um, yeah, I said screw it. I quit my job at Domino's at the time. I quit college. Um, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go all in on this. And this is very important. So I did not quit all this shit without having a safety net. So I made a shit ton of money from crypto. Like I didn't need to work and all that stuff, or I didn't need to go to college, but I was just doing that stuff. I had a good safety net. So I was coming from a place where it's like, okay, I don't need to make this work, but like I have like an internal drive. Like I'm going to make this work. I know some people like try to romanticize it, like burn the ships, like quit everything, just go all in. I think it can be incredibly reckless for a lot of people. Like you can ruin your life if you're not careful. Like you could just, if you don't have savings and emergency comes up, like you might be like totally fucked. So like just if you do, I would say have like good like 6 to 8 months of money you could live off of. So like save, plan for this. Um, but yeah, so I quit. I was at like 750 followers at the time on my Twitter account. I was growing super slow. That was after 3 months. And I was like, screw it, I'm going to restart my Twitter account too. So restarted my Twitter account, switched to a copywriting Twitter account. And at the time, I knew nothing about copywriting too. So I was doing web design at the time, but or learning web design, but I was like, okay, it's good to learn copywriting so I can combine the two for a business. So I was like, what better way to learn copywriting than to to post on Twitter about copywriting because it would keep
Yeah.
me accountable. So I started that account February 17th of 2021, and yeah, I just went ham, grew to like 100 followers in 3 days. Like, okay, this is working. Again, with like the positive reinforcement, like the small goal, like I was happy with 100 followers. Like, yes, sweet. So I kept posting copywriting content. Meanwhile, I was still like learning copywriting, and I was still learning web design, all that. And then I don't know, fast forward like 2 months, I was at like 2,000 followers or 3,000. It's like awesome. And I also was like getting to know everyone in like the Twitter scene. So one of the early people I looked up to was Dan Co, and I really liked the guy. I was like, oh, this, like that's kind of like where I want to be. And so I hit him up. At the time, he was launching a community, and I joined that community. I was really psyched to be in it, and I just gave him a suggestion, like, "Oh, it'd be cool if you had this channel in the community and whatever." And he was like, "Oh, sweet! Like, thank you for that." And he like sent me like $200. And I was like, "Holy shit! Like, this guy's awesome! Like, what? He didn't need to do that." So I guess I had some like psychology kick in, like the reciprocity bias, and I hit him up. I was like, "Hey, like, you offer coaching or something? Like, I'd be interested in like getting on a call." And so I hopped on a call with him, and like I was like, "What the fuck am I doing? Like, I don't really like, I don't know if I need coaching or not." But I got on a call with him, and I was just like, "Oh, okay, this seems cool," or whatever. And like, how much is it? And I was expecting like $2,000. Like, yeah, so it'll be like $8,000. I was like, I'm in. I was not expecting to spend $8,000. He did payment plans though. But yeah, so like that was a big turning point for me because by spending that money, I was like, okay, I really gotta like fucking do this because I'm putting this money in this, and now I'm like full on invested. Because before that, I was like, okay, I'm like learning these skills and all that or whatever, like didn't have a full structure. So by like putting that money in, I was very dedicated, and that's when I like really got serious. Like, okay, I got this roadmap, I know what to do, I'm being held accountable by my coach, I'm going to implement these steps, and then boom, that's when I started uh, or no, I landed a copywriting client before that and a web design client before that, but nothing major. But that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a copywriting, ghostwriting, web design funnel for these people and sell that. Horrible offer, like there's fucking three things. Like you should probably offer one, only offer one thing, get good at that. But yeah, after a few months, I was like, iterate on my offer, figured out all this shit. Started growing on Twitter a bit faster, and yeah, eventually, like, okay, I got to hammer in on this ghostwriting stuff because that's what I'm best at. And yeah, November of 2021, that's when I had my landing page built out and everything in place. I was probably like 8,000 followers, and got an application from somebody that saw me on Twitter, hopped on a sales call with them, landed them, and yeah, I got really good results for them, scaled up the operation. Um, but yeah, now I like that was for like my first client was like $3,000 a month. Now I'm selling packages for $25,000 for 2 months. So it's just like crazy how fast shit can change.
Did that shit ever seem like crazy to you? Like, were you like, I can't believe this is happening, or like someone's even paying me
Yeah,
this?
yeah. Like it was just like it was cool. It was like I did it. Like it wasn't like mind blowing. It was like I did it. Like it's about time.
Yeah.
It's like it just felt like really good. Like like it's like all this hard work. It's like fuck yeah. Like this is awesome. But
Mm.
like when I think about it, it's like people pay me to like type words and
Yeah.
send it. It's like that's a weird concept, man. I do that with a lot of things in life, though. I think life's crazy. It's cool.
Yeah. I love okay, so I had this, obviously I've been doing this podcast since the new year, since 21, since 2022, sorry. And I was like, at the start, it was more of kind of like an experiment. I was like, I
Mhm.
love podcasts, like I love interviewing like one-on-one conversations with people, like in real life. I'm like, why don't I just try a podcast? I was like, I'll just film 10 episodes. And so I did the 10, and I was like, I love this shit. I really like this. And so I was like, I like this a lot. And then I had this, I was like, I was on my phone one night, and I was like, I don't just want this to be an experiment anymore. Like, I want like an audience. Like, I want this to actually be something that I do. So I put this tweet out, and I was like, I'm going to get 10,000 listens on my podcast minimum this year. And I was like, and I think I said at the end, I was like, hold me accountable to that. And I think for, in a way, the way that was for me is like what it was for you when you spent like $8,000. Because I don't really say things like that in public, like on my
Yeah.
Twitter like that. And I think it's like there's this feeling when you have this like self belief in yourself, and you show yourself that you're willing to go all in on you. It's like this confidence. Um, and I think for me, that's actually been the best feeling of the whole process. Is like I'm so confident, like I'm willing to actually put it out there that I'm doing it, or I'm willing to like actually put my money behind it. Like,
Yeah. Well,
um,
it's like it's consistency bias. Like we're as humans are wired to be consistent with what we say. So like that's a very powerful tool. Is just saying shit on Twitter. Like a lot of people talk shit about telling people your goals, but I think it's if it's done correctly like that, like I think it's solid, man. Like that's a definitely a good way to hold yourself accountable.
yeah. Okay, sweet. No, I love it. I want to talk about more about your Twitter and more about like your writing style, because like I said earlier, I think when I first saw that really big tweet thread that you had, I was like, no one writes like at least from what I had seen on Twitter, I was like, no one really writes like this. Like, it's incredibly like raw. It's like very authentic, genuine. Um, it's kind of like unapologetic as well, because I can see some people being like a lot of these things that people write on Twitter, everyone already kind of agrees with it.
Hmm.
Um, I'm interested. How did you even develop that sort of style? Like, how did you even find your voice, like your style of writing on Twitter?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So like early on with Twitter, I definitely fell in the trap of trying to tweet stuff for engagement. So I would say shit like I would exaggerate things I believed in just to be like kind of polarizing and like try to get engagement. And I don't know, man. Like it's just like kind of got old after a while. So I'm like, I'm just gonna tweet like value with copywriting stuff and like offer my takes here and there, like what I actually think. And over time, it's like I don't know. Like I think people tweet bland stuff because they don't value themselves. And like I definitely did that in the beginning because you're scared of like how people are gonna judge you and how you're gonna be perceived. And at a certain point, you're just I don't know. It kind of has to come from an internal belief in yourself or of your self worth that your opinion holds value. And it definitely took a lot of iterations, and it's I still something I work on, but yeah, like with that thread, that was like definitely like raw. Like that was my beliefs, and that's how I see the world. And a lot of people didn't agree, and I didn't give a fuck because I
Mm,
wasn't tweeting for them. So like that's a big thing. Is like finding who you're writing for, and if you're trying to write for everybody, that's when you get the bland stuff. But if you're writing for like, say, if I'm writing for that 20-year-old kid that is struggling with life and maybe didn't have the nicest upbringing but knows he has potential, I'm ready for that person. I don't give a fuck about old man Jim or whoever like decided to shit talk me in that post. I remember there's one guy. I didn't write for that dude. Like, I don't care if you disagree. Like, there's a certain point. Like, you just gotta, if you want to make it as a writer, you gotta understand like your stuff isn't gonna be for everybody, and that's okay. You don't write for them. Like, that's not who you're trying to appeal for. And that also comes like when you it's ironic. It's like a paradox. Like the less you value followers or getting followers, the more you get. Because when you're less concerned about getting followers, that's when like your true writing comes out. but like to a certain point. Like obviously, I care about getting followers, or I wouldn't be like going crazy with threads and shit. But like, there's like a good balance with anything. But yeah, like it's. I think the main thing is like one, establishing your value, and that comes from, that doesn't come from Twitter. That comes from like actually like working on yourself. It comes from like going to the gym, reading books, working on your relationships, stuff like that. And then it'll correlate with your writing. And then the second one is find who you're writing for and write for them. And fuck everybody else. Sorry
Hmm.
for all the swearing. That's me. That's raw. I'm talking to the kids that like swearing.
No, it's cool, man. I'm interested because one thing I've even noticed with this podcast is like you kind of you go through these different ceilings, like these different barriers. So I remember when I first put the podcast out, like I could not I scheduled it in Anchor or whatever, and then I couldn't sleep for like, it was, I scheduled it like 2 days in the future. I could not sleep for 2 days because I was so nervous about people listening to this episode. And now I can like, I just put it out comfortably, right? But now there's like a new
Yeah.
thing that I'm like scared of, and like you'll kind of just keep breaking through these ceilings. You've obviously like, you've left university, you've built a business, you've built a following, you've got like a lot fitter in the gym. I'm interested at like this point, what is the next? What's the next thing that you look at and you're like, I don't know if I can do that, or you're just like, you're just nervous about it. Like, what is the next
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah, so there's two things that come to mind. So Instagram, I recently started growing on Instagram. I was hesitant, or I like put it off for a while because all my like real life friends are like on Instagram and stuff, and they like no one really knows about me on Twitter and like posting stuff like this um, until recently. Like I started posting like last week or something. So that was it. Wasn't like, I think I really like, I worked up in my head like a while ago, but like now I just don't care. It's like, yeah, this is what I do on Twitter. Like I'm blowing the shit up on Twitter. You can have it on Instagram now. Like I don't give a shit what they think of me. So that used to be something. Um, and then right now I'm working on a cohort. So I've never done a product. I've never sold any like thing to my followers other than my service, ghostwriting service. So with that, I have a lot of like, okay, this needs to be perfect, or like I just need to make this like the best fucking cohort ever. And like I'm just like over analyzing a lot of stuff. And like I'm just working on this stuff like crazy, and like this has to be perfect. And then I just get overwhelmed, like, oh, there's so much to do and stuff like that. But it's good. Like it's again, it's like I recognize what's happening and I realize it's a good sign. I need to lean into it. And there's a lot I need to learn with like how to market it, how to get good results for these people, how to even position myself with this cohort. And it's all a lot of like new stuff, but it's something like I'm like very welcoming of. And it's like you said, it's like the new plateau. So like once I build my knowledge in this area, then it's just like, okay, I'm building my foundations even more, and I could build even higher once I have this foundation. So
Mm.
yeah, that's the next thing I'm working on. And like emails, like man, I don't know how to write emails. Like I was like, I'm just doing it though. Like I suck at them, and I'm like, oh, okay, this write an email. So like just like all the time, like just different skills. Um, Approaching women, that's a good one too. That's something I've done in the past. It's like not even business related, but it's like self improvement. Like screw Tinder, screw Bumble, all that shit. Like I want to approach more women. They're just like, hey, you're very gorgeous. Can I get your number?
Mm.
Stuff like that. Like I've done that in the past, like a handful of times. Scares the shit out of me, man. You know, it's not scary shit, but it's like it's good because it's like you should do it because it scares the shit out of you. So that's another thing, more personal, but that's
Yeah.
a good thing.
You know what, you know what's funny about that is like, you can build like a six-figure business, you can build like tons of followers on Twitter, like all these things that seem so difficult, and then that is like, because I know what you mean, like that is like so scary, and you're like, I've done all this other shit, like how the, yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get what you.
yeah. Like like guys are more comfortable asking for $25,000 from a complete stranger than approaching a woman for a number. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, I have two questions for you before we finish off.
Yeah,
The first one is, I'm interested your process for learning, because you spoke about, obviously, you did the ghostwriting business, or like the copywriting business. You then grew a following on Twitter. You're now going into Instagram. In those initial stages where you have, because I'm assuming at the start, like everyone, I'm assuming you have no idea what you're doing. Like,
Mhm.
how do you start? Like, how do you think about it? Is it just jump in? Is there like some strategic approach? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, so I kind of this is kind of like leverage. So it's kind of similar to what I did with crypto. I just looked at the smartest people, and this also like takes some intuition, I guess, or like research, however you want to say. So like I'm pretty good at like detecting who's real and who's full of shit. So I look at the people that are like really successful in their areas and that know what they're doing, and then I just like look at what they're consuming, or I consume what they're teaching, and I just consume that stuff, and then I apply that. So um, say with growing on Instagram, Dan Coe, the guy that used to coach me, I'm living with him right now. It's funny. But yeah, so he's growing on Instagram. He grew like 100,000 followers in a week. So I looked at him and I'm like, oh, this guy gets results. I'm just going to do what he does. So I mean, it's not applicable to like every endeavor, but like I'm talking to this guy. I know his strategy and all that stuff. So like, if I'm if that's what I need to do, I'm going to do it because he's been in my position and he's where I want to be. I'm going to do that. Um, but like at the same time, so um, if I'm at 85,000 followers right now, and someone at 0 followers is trying to do what I do without context, like they're just looking at what I'm doing right now, then they're not going to get the same results, because what gets you from 0 to 10 isn't what gets you from 10 to 100. So like that's also an important thing. So the person you're looking at, you got to see like, okay, what are they telling people to do if they want to get from 0 to 10?
Mm,
Don't just copy what they're doing now. Look at what they're suggesting, what they're telling other people to do, stuff like that, and actually apply it. Like that's another thing. Like a lot of people, myself included in the past, would just read books all day, and I felt accomplished because I'm like, oh yes, another book, a book a week, yes, did it. And you have all your highlights and stuff. How much of that shit are you applying? Like I know I barely applied any of the books I read during a big stint. Now I'm reading like one book or like a few books at a time. I'm taking these chunks of information. I'm like, okay, how can I apply this into what I'm doing now? How can I store this information, take notes, shit like that? Um, Another thing is like another time leverage is like when you're washing dishes, when you're going on a walk, when you're driving your car, listen to podcasts, ebooks, whatever, and just like fill your brain with ideas, because a lot of those ideas will like sit in your head. And then when an opportunity comes by, since that idea is in your head, you'll apply it and you'll create an opportunity out of that. So it's just fill yourself with good information, apply it, know who to consume information from.
mm. No, that's really good. Okay, this is the final question, and let me say this as well. We need to do. I don't know when, but we need to do like a part two, because I feel
Dude,
like
I'm so down.
we're like
This is the
scratching the
best fucking
surface.
podcast I've been on. I fucking love this. This is awesome. This is sick.
Thank you, bro. I feel like we're just
Yeah.
scratching the surface. There's so much more. We
Yeah,
could
I
do
would
like
love to
some
come back on.
Rogan esque three
Yeah.
hour pod.
Yeah, dude. I'm down for that. 100%. That'd
Yeah,
be sick.
we'll do a part two for sure. But here's my
Yeah.
final question for you, because just following you and like observing you on Twitter, I think one of the most impressive things, there's a lot of people that write tweet threads and they get great engagement. They get, a ton of people commenting, retweeting, liking it. I think one of the things that impressed me the most about you, you'll do like a one-off tweet and like over 1,000 people will like it. Like
Yeah.
your audience is like engaged. They're like really plugged into everything you do. And I think
Yeah.
even when I think about building this podcast, it's like, how do I get that loyal audience that like really fucks with you? And
Yeah.
I'm curious, how did you develop that? Like, why do you think that they do that with you?
Yeah, so this is where building a brand is different than gaining followers. So with a brand, there's a lot that comes into it, and a lot more that I don't understand that I'm still trying to figure out. But it's all part of the journey. But so what a lot of people screw up is there's like different pillars. So there's this is the way I look at it with like a Twitter brand that's applicable to other things. So there's three pillars. So there's the growth. So that's like the basic tweets, the stuff that like a lot of people like generic. There's the personal stuff. So that's like in your 20s, the thread I wrote about my life, my views, my stories, stuff like that. And then there is authority. So that's giving value, like copywriting tips, writing tips, marketing tips. And when you combine the three, that's when you build a brand. You build the foundations for a brand. So you tweet the personal stories, stuff like that, opinions. That creates relatability. So that makes the person feel like they know you. Feels like you're a friend now because you align with their views. Then you tweet the authority to give value. So if I'm giving you value all the time, my perceived level of value in your eyes is higher. So because you perceive me as more relatable and you perceive me as high value because I'm giving you this value, when I tweet the growth tweets, like the basic tweets, you're gonna like that. You're gonna retweet it, all that stuff because you're like, oh, that's good stuff. Like, say if uh, a math teacher or some kind of like professor, like someone of like high self claimed authority tweets like, oh, drink water. Oh, okay, no, this is a good one. Okay, so for a doctor, he says vaccines work or whatever. I won't get into the politics of it, or like this medicine works. um, but then some homeless guys like, oh, that vaccine sucks, or like, or this vaccine works, or whatever. You're going to trust the doctor because he has more value, more perceived status, all of that stuff, and maybe even like him better. You're going to trust his opinion, or you're going to like his stuff better than some random person just spewing random opinions. So that's the way I look at it. And just like posting vulnerable shit, man. Like I've posted a lot of shit where I was scared to post it, what people thought of me, and that's the core. Like you're telling people that you stand for something. Like this is who I am. I don't give a fuck what you think of me, or maybe you do, but you're gonna do it anyways. That's a brand. Like Nike, that's a brand because they're very specific of like who this is for. This is for athletes. Same with like the Colin Kaepernick like stuff. They stood for something there, and that's how they created that diehard loyalty. But you think about I don't know, like a Motel 8 or like a Hyatt or something. Like no one really like looks at that and like, oh yeah, like this is my kind of place. It's like, oh, it's like
Yeah.
just generic brand. So if you're treating generic stuff, it's just like supply and demand. So much generic stuff, like you're just not valued because every I can go look at some other Twitter account and then I'm getting the same shit. But if I go to Calum's Twitter and I see he's posting all this like stuff like, this is my story, this is do this to increase your podcast conversions, get traffic to your podcast, stuff like that. You're like, oh, that is for me. I identify, like, I like this guy. I identify with his brand. I want to be part of this. So that's like at the core, like that's brand building. And I think that's like something a lot of people screw up. So like you see these people, they're growing like a shit ton of followers, but how many of those followers are going to buy your stuff? How many of those followers actually give a shit about you? I would argue these are big accounts with like 200,000 plus followers. Like they're not making many sales because they're not
Yeah.
showing their authority. They're not doing this or that. So that's like a really big part of brand building is like those three pillars.
Yeah. No, that's so good, man. And it's interesting. Even I'll have conversations with like my parents or like friends, family about this. Even as I'm growing my pod, which is like authenticity is everything in content creation nowadays. Like
Mhm.
being vulnerable, being genuine. And it's funny, even what you were saying, because I've had a similar thing where it's like the stuff that I was scared to post was always the best performing content.
Exactly. And it ties back to like that tweet, like take risk in your 20s, like even if you're like later on in life, like take risks. Like it's exactly like posting content. Like you feel that discomfort, but you need to lean into that. And that's what grows you.